All right, hello everyone. Today we are talking about how to move your body in the canter. We're going to talk about what you should be doing with your hips, what you should be doing with your legs, what you should be doing with your shoulders, elbows, breathing, pretty much everything that you need for the canter. And I know the canter is a gait that a lot of people struggle with. That canter transition is really tricky. And yeah, just figuring out like how to move your seat in the saddle so you don't end up bouncing or falling off. So we're going to talk about that today. Be sure to give me a thumbs up and check out the comments below. Sign up for my email list and join our Facebook group. We have a club on Facebook called the Dressage Club, which is super fun. So check that out. This is Jacques. He's our demo horse for today. So where do we start? Okay, so the first thing to know about the canter is that the canter is a 3-beat gait. So in the canter, beat 1 is the outside hind leg, beat 2 is the inside hind leg and the outside front leg, beat 3 is the inside front leg. So because of this, the canter has an arcing motion. So there's an up beat, there's a level beat, and then there's a down beat. We're going to start out with first talking about what your seat should be doing. So I'm going to go up to the canter here. So number 1 is your seat. So because there's that up beat, the level beat, and then the down beat, you'll notice that my seat is kind of swishing from the back to the front of the saddle as he's cantering. So it's going back to front, back to front, back to front, back to front, back to front. There's kind of this rolling motion through my seat. You'll also notice that my hip angle, so the angle between my thigh and my upper body, that's your hip angle, that opens and closes. So a little bit like here, it's close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open. That's the motion that my hips are doing in the canter. What I see a lot of riders do is they think that they want to be sitting still in the canter. So they don't have any motion in their hips or in their kind of midsection. And if you lock up your hips in your midsection, this is what happens. Oops, see, he broke. Let me try and demonstrate that again. But if you don't open and close your hip angle, you end up kind of bouncing in the saddle or almost posting the canter, and then your horse is going to drop their back and break out of the trot or run off, one of the two. So that's why it's really important that whenever you're cantering your seat, the job of your seat is to follow that motion. So when your horse is cantering, your seat is also cantering. Good boy, Jacques. So that's what your seat should be doing in the canter. It's always important. I kind of always start with my seat because I think that your seat is really the most important part of your position. So once you've got the feeling for your seat, the second thing that you want to think about is your leg position. So when you're cantering, the canter is a naturally bent gait for the horse. You have a left lead canter and you have a right lead canter. So in the canter, your leg position should always be for whichever lead you're on. If you're on left lead canter, you should have your left leg at the girth and your right leg behind the girth. So behind the girth means that I would go from this, if this is at the girth, then this would be what I would consider behind the girth. It varies a little from horse to horse, but whenever I'm cantering in left lead canter, I have this outside leg a little back. Now, I don't have it clamped on, so it's not like I have my toe out and my spur in him all the time, but I have my leg here in what we call guarding position. And this is really important, particularly if you have a trained horse that knows the flying changes. If your leg comes forward, then your horse is either going to break to the trot or they're going to try to do a flying change. So whenever you're cantering, you have your legs in this position. let me demonstrate this to you. I'm gonna go right lead canter. So in right lead canter, I'm gonna have my inside leg at the girth and my outside leg behind the girth. And don't forget, you know, we already talked about your seat. So your seat has to continue following the motion. So here we go. When I'm in the right lead canter now, I have my left leg behind the girth. You see how it's held a little back there. And it's not clamped on, it's just in position. I have right leg at the girth, left leg behind the girth. And if I feel like he's gonna break out of the canter, then I might add a little outside leg and ask him to canter. I have some other videos about the canter transition. I'll link those if you're having problems with that. But the reason that it's also important to keep this leg position is that it helps you to keep your weight over your inside seat bone. So outside leg behind the girth, inside leg at the girth, and I kind of am thinking about dropping my inside heel down, and that helps me to keep the weight down into my inside seat bone and over my horse's inside hind leg. Good boy. Good boy, Jacques. Okay, so that's what your legs are doing. Now we're gonna talk about your shoulders. So your shoulders and your elbows. So when you're cantering, I kind of think of it as like, keep your shoulders still and let your hips move. So your hips are kind of doing that scooping motion, and your shoulder and your hip angle is a little closing and opening, but your shoulders are staying more or less still. And then your elbows are a little bit bending and straightening. So when your horse is cantering, their head has a nodding motion, and that means that and since your hip angle is closing and opening, your elbows are a little bit bending and straightening as you canter. So let me try to demonstrate that for you. Okay, so you can see here my hips are doing the swishing thing, my legs are in position, my shoulders are more or less still. So a lot of times what I see riders do is they are like pumping with their shoulders, like their shoulders, I can't even do it. Their shoulders, some people go like this with their shoulders, like left and right like this. You don't want to do that, and you also don't want to be going, I can't even do it, but you don't want to be really pumping with your shoulders. So your shoulders are staying still, but your elbows are a little bit moving. So as I'm cantering here, my elbows are going bend straight, bend straight, bend straight, bend straight. I'll exaggerate it a little. You can see, and as I'm moving my elbows, he really likes that. He's cantering even more forward. So it's really important that your elbows are moving to get a steady contact. If I lock up my elbows, now see how it's jerk, give, jerk, give, jerk, give, jerk, give, jerk, give. So if you're having trouble getting a steady contact with your horse's mouth, it's probably because your elbows aren't following properly your horse's motion in the canter. Good boy, Jacques. So that's kind of the rundown of what you should be doing with your body as far as your seat, your legs, your shoulders, and your elbows. It's a lot to think about. And you know, one other thing that is really important in the canter is just to remember your breathing. So you know, remembering to breathe in for 3 or 4 canter strides and out for 3 or 4 canter strides, that really helps you to stay relaxed and stay in the rhythm with your horse. So let me know what you struggle the most with in the canter in the comments, and I'll also link some other videos that I have about the canter that hopefully helps you guys. And thanks for watching. The end.